God is good all the time. My first topic was going to be talking about the homemade creamsicles because you would have seen that short that came out. And sometimes people don't think to go look in the description. Shorts, you may not realize, have a description box. Unfortunately, for whatever weird reason, YouTube does not allow clickable links in the shorts in the description box. You can have a clickable link to just one video right on the screen of that short, which I did link to the last full video I did on making creamsicles, and that was a honeydew creamsicles, that one. So I've done several over the years. They're all basically the same. The recipe's basically the same. I don't use really any real measurements. I just throw stuff in a blender, put in some half and half or whole cream, and some honey usually is what I like to use to sweeten it if it needs it at all. And then blend it up. The last batch of strawberry creamsicles I made, I did add some vanilla extract, and that added a really nice flavor. So that's why I wanted to bring it up, is that homemade creamsicles are super duper easy. And you don't have to have popsicle molds. You can simply pour them in little small glasses or little small, like half pint jars, and just freeze it like that. Just don't put a tight lid on it or anything. Just freeze it like that because it will expand. You don't want to put a lid on real tight and then have it break the jar, because if it doesn't have anywhere to expand to, it will expand out. So, but I haven't had any problem as long as I just leave a lid off until it's fully frozen. If you don't think you're going to eat it right away, then you can put a lid on it once it's frozen. And then you just eat it with a spoon. You may have to let it thaw out a little bit. But that's what I did with the excess. What doesn't go into the popsicle molds, I just put in a little glass and then freeze it. That's how I prefer to eat them. Patrick likes the popsicles. So exact stainless steel popsicle molds I used in that short, and in that last video I did, that particular one that I bought that's no longer available, but I did link to some that are exactly the same thing, stainless steel with the wooden popsicle sticks, and I just wash them and reuse them, the sticks, but they give you like 50. The first ones I had were I can't remember the name, Zoku or something like that. And they were BPA-free plastic, but they're still plastic. They're actually really nice. They work really well. If you go to my, I put a playlist for frozen treats, because not everything I show in that playlist are popsicles. Some of them I show putting them in little glasses. But you'll see the plastic ones I was using. Then when I found the stainless steel ones, they're more expensive, but I think they're worth it, because then you're not getting the plastic in there. But yeah, it's super easy. So some of the ones I've made over the years, I've made cantaloupe. All of them I add some kind of like half and half or cream to it, or even heavy cream. So let's see, cantaloupe, honeydew. I've done like a pina colada. So I did the pineapple with coconut. I've done pineapple, banana, and coconut. I've done raspberry, strawberry, blueberry. One of the ones I've done is with the berries, just using berries, stuff from the garden, is blueberries, currants, and rhubarb. Oh, orange cream. There's another good one. I've done a plum ginger. I think that's the one video it's in there where I poured it into glasses. I've used guava fruit, and then the chocolate. It's just raw cacao powder, and then saying raw cacao is redundant because cacao over cocoa. Cacao means it's raw. Cocoa means it's not raw. But anyway, using cacao powder and some cream, and I don't remember if I used sugar or honey in it. Usually in the creamsicles, I'll use honey, raw honey. The basic recipe, using approximately 4 cups of fruit and I usually just put the cream or the half and half up to about where it comes to the top of where the berries or whatever fruit I'm putting in there is. Oh, I've made pumpkin creamsicles too. Pumpkin spice creamsicles. I forgot to write that one down. And then, add my honey and my whatever flavored extract I want to throw in there that I made. Anyway, and then you just freeze it. It's so good. It's really good. It just is nice. It's simple, and they're great treats to have for the summertime, and you know exactly what's going in it. Good healthy stuff. And you don't have, the thing that's great about adding the raw honey to it, it's nothing you're cooking, so you don't have to worry about damaging the benefits of the raw honey. You're just freezing it. So I think that was it about the homemade creamsicles. It was just kind of more to inspire people. It's so easy. And again, you do not have to have any fancy popsicle molds. You can just do it in little glasses. If you have canning jars, little half-pint canning jars, just use those. So, and then just freeze it. And it's ready to eat with a spoon. Or, if you do it in the glasses, you don't even have to wait until it's fully frozen, since you'd probably need to thaw it a little bit first anyway. Otherwise, you're kind of scraping it out. You can just, check it. And when it gets to that point where it's really thick and it's still soft enough to spoon it out, but frozen enough that it's like, this is going to be almost like ice cream, then there you go. Okay, so then the next subject that doesn't go hand in hand with creamsicles, let me clarify that, was about the slug and snail control. Now, I did do a video, I think a couple of years ago, slug control. I still have a jug of Sluggo bought from Amazon, which you recommended years ago. Yeah, that is the Sluggo. It works really good. And it's one that if you have to resort to buying any, that's the one I recommend, because it is pretty much all natural. It's even approved for organic gardening. Even if your chickens or your pets eat it, it's not going to hurt them. It's basically just iron. And, too much iron will kill slugs, so they'll eat that for the bait. And so it's virtually non-toxic. I think it's entirely non-toxic. But so that's one of the answers to what we have to do. But I wanted to bring this up because every single time I talk about our slug problem, there's two things that people will recommend to me. And I want to explain, because a lot of people don't know this, because they might be new to my channel, that when you live in a place that gets 120, there we go. Somebody's already brought it up. 120 inches, and that's a low average of rain. The beer in dishes is absolutely 100% worthless. Well, I won't say 100% worthless. There's a couple percentages points that you might get one of the 3,000 slugs in your garden. When I first started really getting serious about the garden and realized, man, these slugs are just horrible, I'm going to try the beer and dishes. I tried so many different ways. That would work without the dish filling up with rainwater, making little umbrellas basically for it, taking a bottle of beer, turning it sideways. Obviously you have to dump some of the beer out so that the slugs could go inside. It was a bottle or a can, whatever, so that it'd be on its side, so it wouldn't get filled up with rainwater. Pointless. Everything I tried was an absolute waste of beer and time. So I say this because if it works for you, I know a lot of people use the beer and dishes method, and it works excellent for quite a number of people. But, there's a guy that we know that lives in Port Townsend, which is 2 hours from here. They don't get near as much rain as we do, and he's an avid gardener. He says, yeah, beer and dishes here is absolute waste of time. And that's even where he's at, and he doesn't get as much rain as we do. So there's many other methods that I bring up in that video, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and link to it, because I'll probably forget a bunch of them. But some people claim that coffee grounds around your plants will help. Now, I put coffee grounds on a lot of my plants anyway. It doesn't do, I put that more to fertilize the plants. Does nothing to keep the slugs away. I've seen slug slime going right over the coffee grounds and the crushed up eggshells. Did that. Slug slime right over the top of the eggshells. Let me tell you something. It's not that we have massive slugs. Some are. It's not that they're massive, though. It's that they're tenacious. And we have a great amount of them. And the copper, the reason that's pointless is because of our high moisture content, constant. It corrodes fast. Patrick even made little copper rings that we tried to put around my bean plants. And it was just no good. The slugs go right over it because once the copper is corroded, I mean, you'd have to constantly be out there shining up that copper. And so it's like pointless. And then I was going to say the second most common thing that people will recommend are getting ducks. Well, that's great if one has the space and really wants ducks. I know duck eggs are great for baking, but to me, Patrick doesn't like duck eggs, and it's not worth it to me to give up even more of the space and the massive mess that ducks make just to have some slug control and maybe a few eggs for occasional baking. It's not worth it to me. However, ducks are better than chickens when it comes to eating slugs, but chickens will eat slugs. And the slugs that we have the biggest issue with are the little small ones. And they'll just devour those. And it's really apparent when I look at my gardens. So all my back gardens, all those back garden areas, most of those, the chickens get to roam free in a good amount of the year when things aren't growing. And very little slug problems back there. Very, very little. And then in the front yard garden where they get to roam a good part of the year, I don't have as many slugs there. More than in the back, but not as many. But my two other garden areas that are one's over here and one's over here, those are the two that have the biggest slug issues. Why? Because my chickens never get to roam in those areas. It's just not set up where I can let them go out there and roam free. But the chickens were the one thing that really, really helped my garden. So not only do I got the chickens for their fertilizer, their eggs, their enjoyment, their little tilling feet, but they're also my slug control. And I don't have to have ducks too. So I just would like to figure out a way where I could rig it up where I could let them in the fall, hang out in these other areas, but they're smaller areas anyway. So that is where and in my pots, those are the places where I use the Sluggo. And it doesn't just dissolve when water hits it. So you can water your plants, it can get rained on. It doesn't just immediately dissolve. And that works really good. It's definitely going to be far safer than slug line or something like that. So I did have somebody, though, bring up to me recently, and I hadn't heard this one, about wool fiber. You can put wool fiber around your plants that are getting devoured by slugs, and the slugs won't go over the wool fiber. And she said that works really well for her. But if it's an area that you would till, you would have to pull all that fiber up, obviously, or it's going to get all hung up in your tines. I'll tell you what I used to do, though, before I got the chickens. I think I shared this last time when I was talking about slugs, is I used to go out early in the morning. Well, before the sun was up, before the slugs all go into hiding away from the sun. I had a bucket or something that I had dedicated just for slugs, and I'd just start hand picking the slugs off all my beans and other plants and go through the whole garden, pick, and I wouldn't stop until I had a very minimum of 100, sometimes 200 slugs. And I'm like, okay, done for the day. Next morning, go out and do the same thing. That's how many slugs. Not kidding. Until I had chickens. Chickens were Chickens, I love my chickens. My little slug-eating chickens. Now, not all the chickens will eat the slugs, but enough of them will eat the slugs that they keep them at bay, that is for sure. Lily flowers. So I have a video in the description box on the benefits and uses of daylily flowers. And so right now I've been dehydrating up a bunch. I don't know if I'll dehydrate up much more than what I've got here because I'll still have my orange ones and then I want to mix them together. And then I'm going to mix them in with my greens blend to add color. But then the rest I'm pretty much using fresh. So the other night I took the daylilies out of bloom that day because this thing, they're daylilies. You want to pick them the day they bloom or they won't be there the next day because they will die. That's why they're called daylilies, because they're only good for a day. So I picked the daylilies and then threw them into my stir-fried vegetable. It's just a way to add more nutrition and more to a vegetable dish, or to even if I was using them in fried rice, I would cut them up so they weren't longer pieces. But lily flowers are commonly used like in hot and sour soup, dried lily flowers. What they do is they tie the whole lily flower, it's more like the bud, it's young, and they tie it in a knot, and then you throw that into your hot and sour soup, which I actually have a recipe I did several years ago on that. So the greens blend, adding them to the greens blend means they would go in any dish that I'm making, because I add the greens blend to almost everything anymore. I'll even put it like if I'm making hamburger patties or meatloaf, or meatballs, I'll sprinkle that in there too, the greens blend. And so I'll have my dried lily flowers mixed in there as well. But yeah, so much you can do to add them to your cooking. And I love the fact that I can grow something really pretty like that. And then I just wish they lasted longer than a day so you can enjoy their beauty a little bit longer. You usually just you can wait till the end of the day and then pick them. You just don't want them to sit overnight or they'll be all wilted by the next morning. You can also fry them. You can bread and fry them. So in that video that I linked to, I took some of them and then breaded them. And I think the breading I used on that was the same breading I use for like when I'm making almond chicken or the orange chicken, the spicy orange chicken. It's the same kind of breading, and just fried it up. And that was pretty good. Or you can even eat them fresh with like your homemade ranch dressing or whatever your favorite kind of dip is. They're pretty good. I love the fact that I love growing things that can have multi-purpose, especially when you're doing stuff in such a small area. Thanks for coming in here. Take care and God bless.